From Canada, Citizens Forum, where we look at the important issues of the day through a lens of democracy and media and try to figure out, how do we build a better country for ourselves?
Is the United States being removed as the world's #1 power? As Trump gets crazier, that seems to be what's happening. In a speech this week, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said, "Our relationship with the United States will never again be the same as it was." At the same time, Canada's Foreign Minister, Anita Anand, said, "Canada now views China as a strategic partner in a dangerous world." That is a big change from what Canada was saying about China just a few months ago. Now, personally, I'm fine with Canada having a better relationship with China. I wish we could have had a better relationship with China for the past 20 years. But imagine what this means when Canada, of all countries, is moving away from the United States with all our resources that the United States needs, and with our Prime Minister saying again and again that the old relationship with the United States is over. And the same is true not only of Canada, but of the European Union, Mexico, Japan, India, and other countries. All of these nations are moving away from the United States, and it's largely because of the crazy tariff policies of President Donald Trump. So I think the case can be made that the people who run the United States intend to collapse its economy, steal everything that isn't nailed down, and move off to greener pastures. And I am not against tariffs. I think tariffs can make a lot of sense, and I wish we used them more in Canada to protect jobs and certain industries that we think are of strong importance to our country. But Trump's tariff policies are crazy and seem to change almost daily and with no rationale. Trump is giving tariffs a bad name. But more importantly than any of that, I think the tariff story that North Americans are being told by our politicians and by the corporate media is not really the truth. What we are always told is that a crazy President Trump is attacking Canada and the rest of the world with a lunatic set of tariff policies that are destabilizing everything. And at the moment, because of an ad campaign run by Ontario Premier Doug Ford, Trump has ended all discussion with Canada on trade and tariffs. But what we are not told, and this is a very important point, is that in the United States, the president does not control tariffs. In the United States, it is the Congress that controls tariffs. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution clearly vests the power to lay and collect tariffs with the Congress. This means that President Trump is only able to act the way he is doing because the congressional leadership, both Republican and Democratic, approve of what he is doing. If they didn't approve, if they wanted to stop Trump, they could. But they are not fighting against what he's doing, which must mean that they support it. And at the same time, all the big media in the United States and Canada never talk about this most important point, that it is the Congress and not the president who controls tariffs. The Democrats should be screaming about congressional control of tariffs every single day, but instead, we barely hear a word from them. And the so-called liberal media in both the United States and Canada should be doing the same, telling us daily that it is the Congress, not the president, who controls tariffs. But the media barely say a word about this, which allows Trump to do what he's doing. It's true that the Congress has delegated over the years some powers to the president on tariffs, but any powers the Congress has given to a president can be just as easily taken back because the Congress does have constitutional authority over tariffs. And what Trump is doing with tariffs is isolating the United States. And I assume, since neither the Congress nor the media are fighting him, I assume that the plan is to isolate the United States. And this is not just Trump's plan, but it is the official plan of the people who run the United States, namely the deep state. The biggest trade partners of the United States are China, the European Union, Mexico, Canada, and Japan. India is big too. And Trump is using tariffs to damage relationships with all of those countries. And at the same time, the United States is basically at war with Russia. So we see all of these other nations being cut off by the United States. And all of these countries are therefore turning towards China as their next big partner. So it's possible that we are at a moment in time when the United States is being removed from its 100-year-long position as the most powerful nation in the world, and that mantle is being moved to China. One can certainly make the case that that is exactly what is happening. And this is being done not by China, it's being done by the people who run the United States. Over the past 40 years, we have seen the United States give up its leadership in manufacturing. Huge numbers of American jobs were sent overseas to low-wage countries so American corporations could maximize their profits by going from paying $30 an hour in the United States to paying $1 an hour in low-wage countries. Imagine the profits that were made from this change when you stop manufacturing at $30 an hour and instead manufacture at $1 an hour and still sell into North America at the same prices. And corporate profit, of course, is what everything is about these days. At the same time, we've seen the American media and the politicians completely divide the American people to the point where some are openly talking about a civil war in the United States. The media in the United States promote hate and division day after day after day, pitting Americans against each other over and over again in 100 different ways, to the point where they seem to be creating two armed camps in the United States that really do not like each other. And that is being done deliberately by the corporate media and by a lot of the top politicians, certainly including Donald Trump. Recently, we had Hillary Clinton calling Trump supporters deplorables, and Trump and his media allies say even worse and crazier things about those who don't agree with him. Plus, the United States is now over $38 trillion in debt. $38 trillion. How can that amount of money ever be paid off? The United States now spends more paying interest on their national debt than they spend on their military. And believe it or not, that is true. And now Trump is using tariffs to create worldwide havoc, and the Congress and the media are allowing him to do it. So I have the feeling that what's really being done is the removal of the United States as the leading world power. We're told that Trump is the one doing this, but really it's the entire deep state, the entire American government, which is the corporate leadership of the United States, of course. They are wrecking the United States, pitting its people against each other. They have undermined its economy, and now they are separating the United States from the rest of the world. And meanwhile, the US stock markets, believe it or not, are at record highs, which makes absolutely no sense in a nation with so many economic problems. I assume that the plan is to bring down those stock markets in the very near future, impoverish the United States, and end its rule. The corporations and the 1% will steal everyone else's wealth. The American middle class will be destroyed. Mass poverty will follow. And that just seems to be the plan. So stay tuned and we shall see what is going to happen. Thank you very much.